You're listening to the Bots and Bosses podcast, the only show where robots and humans attempt to work side by side. Presented by John Binks, technologist, author, and your AI wrangling tour guide. So, buckle up and let's deep dive.
Welcome to the Bots and Bosses podcast, presented by John Binks. This is episode 46 and originally aired on July 28, 2026. So imagine going to the grocery store when you are absolutely ravenously hungry.
Oh, yeah. That is always a terrible idea.
Right. You grab a cart and you just start throwing things in, like the frosted cookies, that artisanal cheese you don't even really like, 4 different kinds of chips.
You're just reacting to the hunger at that point.
Exactly. You aren't thinking about a cohesive meal at all. And then you get to the checkout, stare at this massive bill, and go home with random ingredients that just end up giving you a stomachache.
I mean, we've all been there.
Well, right now, global corporations are doing the exact same thing with artificial intelligence and cloud technology.
They really are. They are completely reacting to the hype.
Yeah.
Because, it's incredibly tempting to just throw every shiny new AI tool, every new platform right into the enterprise shopping cart. No one wants to be left behind.
No, nobody wants to be the one missing out. But which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. Today, we are looking at how organizations are actually surviving the overwhelming pace of technology in 2026.
And it is overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. So our sources today include the Gartner 2026 Technology Adoption Roadmap, which surveyed 105 global organizations across 44 different technologies. And I'm also bringing in some notes from my own practical guide on enterprise deployment that I recently published.
Which has some really crucial frameworks, I might add.
Well, thank you. The defining theme for this year across all this data is a hard pivot. The era of buying tech just because it looks cool in a demo it's over.
Yeah, it has to be over.
Right.
We're moving toward a period of almost ruthless discipline.
Right.
The gap between technologies that just look interesting and the ones that actually deliver dependable business outcomes it's widening by the minute. We're at a point where AI and advanced cloud services are no longer experimental side projects. They are fundamental operating layers for the business now. But scaling them, that requires an entirely new level of rigor.
And to understand that rigor, we have to start by looking at the receipt from that grocery run, because before any organization can scale these amazing new tools, they have to figure out how to pay for them.
And right now, the billing is completely out of control.
It really is. The Gartner data reveals this really alarming statistic. Cost unpredictability now affects 67% of cloud-related technologies.
Wow.
Yeah, 67%. That is a massive jump from just 14% the previous year.
That is a staggering leap. But to understand why this is happening, we really have to look at the mechanics of how these new workloads are priced.
Right, because it's not like the old days.
Exactly. Traditional cloud computing was a lot like renting a commercial office space.
Yeah.
You signed a contract, you knew your monthly rent, and it was a flat, predictable line item in your budget.
Nice and simple.
But generative AI and advanced cloud services, they operate more like a utility bill attached to a wildly fluctuating meter.
Because you aren't paying for the server itself anymore, you're paying for what the server actually thinks.
Put perfectly. You are paying per token, per model call, per transaction.
Right.
And a token is roughly a piece of a word or a syllable. So every single time an AI model reads a prompt, analyzes it, and generates a response, it consumes tokens.
Which seems cheap at first, right?
Right. It might cost a fraction of a cent each time. But when you have 10,000 employees running complex queries all day, those fractions multiply into millions of dollars almost instantly.
And the 2026 State of FinOps research really hammers this reality home. For those listening, FinOps, or financial operations, is the practice of bringing financial accountability to that variable spend model of the cloud.
A very necessary practice right now.
Absolutely. And their latest data shows that 98% of respondents are now actively managing AI spend. 98. Just 2 years ago, that number was 31%.
We are seeing a total paradigm shift. Technology adoption and financial governance they can't exist in separate silos anymore.
No, they can't.
The research also identifies AI cost management as the single biggest skill gap for these FinOps teams today. If an IT leader pitches a new pilot program, but cannot clearly explain what the token consumption and the future costs will be when deployed to the whole company,
Then what?
that pilot simply should not get the green light. period.
Well, I want to push back on one of the solutions the Gartner roadmap suggests for managing all this architecture, specifically regarding multi-cloud environments.
Okay, let's hear it.
I am really struggling with this conclusion. The report suggests partitioning workloads rather than building a true multi-cloud setup. But, if I invest my entire retirement fund into a single tech stock, a financial advisor would call me reckless, right?
Sure, yeah.
So isn't a multi-cloud setup like spreading your data across multiple providers like AWS, Azure, Google? Isn't that the ultimate safety net? If one goes down, you aren't completely wiped out. Why is the source suggesting that partitioning is better for resilience?
It's a very common assumption that spreading risk across multiple vendors automatically increases safety. But in enterprise technology, complex interdependencies actually create more fragility.
Wait, really? How so?
Let's look at how a true multi-cloud environment works under the hood. If you design a single application to run seamlessly across 3 different cloud providers simultaneously, you introduce massive architectural friction.
Because they aren't meant to work together.
Right. You are forcing systems that were built by fierce competitors to constantly talk to each other.
So they basically don't speak the same language natively.
They don't. To make them communicate, you have to use the lowest common denominator services, and that strips away the unique advanced features you paid a premium for in the first place.
Well, that makes sense.
Plus, you get hit with massive data egress fees. Cloud providers generally let you upload data for free, but they charge a fortune when you want to take it out.
Right, the trapdoor.
Exactly. So if your application is constantly shuttling data back and forth between different clouds just to function, you're hemorrhaging money. And from a security perspective, your perimeter becomes incredibly porous because you've opened up so many communication pathways.
Wow, okay. That makes the alternative partitioning workloads make a lot more sense. You are essentially saying, instead of building one giant complicated machine that runs on 3 different types of fuel, you build 3 specialized machines that do their specific jobs independently.
Exactly. The Gartner Guide and your own deployment notes both point to this strategy. You might decide that your massive data analytics warehouse lives entirely in Cloud A because they offer the most cost-effective processing tools, while your customer-facing mobile apps live entirely in Cloud B because of their geographic server locations. You have clear workload placement rules, dedicated recovery plans for each environment, and 0 data egress fees bleeding you dry.
That is so much cleaner.
It is. When things break, you have a self-contained system to fix, not a sprawling knot of dependencies.
Well, before we move on to how AI fits into this sprawling knot, if you are enjoying our podcast, please click like and follow our show. And remember to tell your friends about our show.
Okay, let's look at the AI layer itself, because this is where those massive compute costs are truly originating.
Oh, absolutely.
AI is no longer a separate, isolated initiative. It has become an operating layer woven into literally everything from cloud management to cybersecurity analytics. But the unpredictable economics we just discussed are trapping organizations. They are just spinning their wheels in the pilot phase.
We see this playing out vividly in IT service management or ITSM tools.
These are the internal systems designed to automatically resolve employee tech tickets, reset passwords, provision software. The roadmap data shows these tools are highly valued by leadership, yet they are overwhelmingly stuck in the testing stage.
And the barrier is entirely economic.
100% economic.
Right, because if an AI agent hallucinates, meaning it confidently makes up false information or gets stuck in a logic loop trying to solve a complex server issue, it doesn't just fail. It keeps pinging the model over and over.
And racking up charges.
Exactly. The compute cost skyrockets while the machine just sits there and argues with itself in the background.
And that leads directly to the trap of adoption theater, which is a concept that features heavily in the guide you published.
Yes, I see it everywhere.
Leadership mandates that the organization must become an AI-first company. So the IT department responds by spinning up 36 different isolated AI pilots.
Just to show they're doing something.
Right. On a quarterly presentation dashboard, it looks like incredible progress.
Yeah.
But it produces 0 lasting value, because none of those pilots can economically scale to the whole enterprise.
And the hidden dependency here, the real reason these pilots fail to transition into production is data readiness.
Without a doubt.
The Gartner roadmap is littered with foundational kind of unglamorous technologies. Data fabric, data lake architecture, vector databases, master data management. These aren't the flashy tools that make headlines, but AI value relies entirely on them.
They are the bedrock.
I want to unpack vector databases for a second because it is critical. Traditional databases are basically like a filing cabinet, right? If you search for the word dog, it only finds folders with the exact word dog.
Right, it's very literal.
But a vector database maps concepts in a multidimensional mathematical space. It actually understands context. It knows that dog, puppy, and canine are all related concepts, which allows the AI to actually understand the meaning behind your company's documents.
And that contextual understanding is the engine of modern AI. But if you feed that powerful engine unorganized garbage data, it crashes. Foundational data architecture is the absolute prerequisite for success.
It's like dropping a Formula One engine into a rusty go-kart.
Yes, exactly. Think about an AI assistant deployed to help a sales team write proposals. If that assistant cannot access a governed single source of truth, like if it's pulling product pricing from an outdated spreadsheet saved on a former employee's desktop instead of the official enterprise resource planning system, it will fail.
Horribly.
It doesn't matter if you are using the most advanced trillion parameter model in the world. If the underlying data is not tagged, secured, and accessible, the AI is worse than useless. It is a massive liability.
You cannot automate your way out of poor data quality. If you try, you're just going to automate the confusion at a much faster speed. The AI will confidently deliver the wrong pricing to a major client in 3 seconds flat. You have to modernize the foundation before you can build the house. And since AI relies entirely on this data foundation, we have to look at the people interacting with that data every single day.
The human element.
Right, because the whole reason organizations are taking on these massive utility bills and wrestling with data governance is to fundamentally change how their employees work.
And the shift in what organizations actually value from their technology investments right now is striking. Last year, if you surveyed enterprises about their top value driver for new tech, 60% said speed and agility. Just make the processes faster.
Which makes sense.
But the 2026 roadmap shows a complete pivot toward human-AI collaboration. Employee productivity is now the leading driver at 32%, followed by agility at 30%. The objective is no longer just making the machine work faster. It is making the human-machine partnership more effective.
Yet there is this wild contradiction sitting right in the middle of this data. The Gartner roadmap points out that 60% of AI-powered digital workplace tools are rated as medium to high risk.
Yeah, that's a huge number.
We are talking cybersecurity risks, hallucination risks, vendor lock-in, data privacy issues. But despite being categorized as highly risky, 60% of those same tools are already in deployment anyway.
They just push them out.
Exactly. Organizations are deploying them to the workforce because the promised productivity impact is so undeniable, they feel they literally cannot wait for perfect safety.
It is a massive gamble. They're prioritizing speed to market over ironclad security. And because the tools are inherently risky, the human element becomes the primary defense mechanism for the enterprise.
That's a lot of pressure on the employees.
It is. The Microsoft 2026 Work Trend Index highlights something critical here. As we integrate more autonomous AI agents into the workplace, human judgment and critical thinking become the most valuable assets a company possesses. The industry goal is to transform the digital workplace into an experience platform, a seamless environment designed to reduce friction and eliminate app switching. But the success of that platform relies entirely on the user's discretion.
Okay, I have to stop and challenge the logic here. If the whole point of these incredibly expensive AI tools is to do the heavy lifting, why is human critical thinking suddenly the paramount skill? Aren't we just turning highly paid employees into full-time AI babysitters?
I hear that a lot.
I mean, if an employee has to double-check every single spreadsheet and email the AI generates, how is that actually saving the company any time or money?
That is a very fair critique. But framing it as babysitting misses the structural shift in how work is being done. The concept we use here is workforce adoption and orchestration.
Orchestration.
Right. This shift moves the employee from being the doer of repetitive tasks to being the director of automated workflows. You are not checking the AI spelling or its basic math. You are checking its strategic logic and context.
So it's about context that the machine simply cannot access.
Precisely. Let's say an AI agent generates a project plan and an email to a major client. The AI might perfectly summarize the deliverables, but the AI doesn't know that this specific client is highly sensitive to certain phrasing because of a recent merger.
Or office politics.
Right, there could be nuanced political dynamics between the client's internal teams. The human knows that. The technology only succeeds if the human knows how to wield it. They need to know when to trust the automation blindly for standard tasks, when to rigorously question its output, and when entirely human empathy and context are required.
We're essentially asking employees to level up. We want them to transition from being task executors to strategic editors. But that requires a massive amount of retraining.
Really does.
You can't just drop a conversational AI agent onto an employee's desktop, send out a PDS manual, and expect magic. Organizations have to provide practical, hands-on training.
And establish very clear decision rights about what the AI is allowed to do autonomously.
Right, and create immediate escalation paths for when the AI inevitably gets something wrong.
The training burden is immense. And as we empower these employees to orchestrate data from anywhere, collaborating with digital agents from a coffee shop, a home office, or an airport, we introduce a staggering new level of risk.
It sounds like a complete security nightmare. The traditional way of securing a corporate network was basically like a bouncer at a nightclub.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Right. Once the bouncer checked your ID at the front door, you were inside and you could go to the bar, the dance floor, the VIP room without being questioned again. That was the perimeter defense model. But that is entirely obsolete now.
Completely.
You can't just put a bouncer at the front door of an office building when the data lives in the cloud, the AI is processing it externally, and the employee is sitting in a cafe in another country.
And that reality is what drives the security roadmap for 2026. Security has fundamentally shifted away from that perimeter model to a posture of continuous verification.
Continuous verification.
Yeah. The industry terms for this are Zero Trust Network Access, or ZTNA, and Extended Detection and Response, or XDR. If the old model trusted anyone who made it past the front door, the new model trusts absolutely no one ever.
So using that nightclub analogy, Zero Trust is like having a bouncer check your ID, take your pulse, and verify your VIP status every single time you try to open a new door, order a drink, or use the restroom.
That is exactly what it is.
It verifies your identity, checks the health and security patch level of your laptop, and confirms your specific permissions every single time you try to access a new file, even if you just logged in 5 minutes ago.
The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CS, emphasizes a crucial point regarding this shift, though. Zero Trust is a maturity journey.
It's not a switch you flip.
No. It requires a complete architectural overhaul centered around identity management. You cannot simply go to a software vendor, buy a product with Zero Trust printed on the box, install it, and declare your network secure.
That's a huge misconception.
It is a fundamental rewiring of how the organization handles access.
And while organizations are currently drowning in the complexity of implementing Zero Trust, managing AI token costs, and fixing their data architecture, the roadmap points to an even more existential security challenge looming on the horizon: post-quantum preparation.
Oh, this is a big one.
I'll be honest, when I talk to IT leaders, quantum computing still feels like science fiction. It feels like a theoretical problem for the year 2035. If a chief information officer is already overwhelmed by the 2026 tech stack, why on earth should they be dedicating precious budget and resources to post-quantum cryptography right now?
The instinct to push it off is common, but it severely misunderstands the timeline of the threat. We are no longer operating in the theoretical realm.
We are.
No, the National Institute of Standards and Technology NIST has already finalized 3 post-quantum cryptography, or PQC, standards that are ready for implementation today. The immediate threat we face is not that a lone hacker is going to buy a quantum computer tomorrow and instantly drain your corporate bank accounts.
Well, if the hardware isn't fully mature yet, what is the immediate actionable threat today?
The threat is a well-documented strategy known as harvest now, decrypt later.
Oh, wow.
Nation-states and highly advanced threat actors are currently siphoning up massive volumes of encrypted, sensitive data as it travels across the internet. They cannot read this data today because it is protected by current RSA encryption.
And RSA relies on multiplying massive prime numbers together, right? Like, it's easy for a computer to multiply them, but practically impossible for a traditional computer to reverse engineer and find those original primes to break the key.
Exactly right. Traditional computers would take millions of years to crack it. But a viable quantum computer can evaluate all possibilities simultaneously, breaking that encryption in moments.
So they're just hoarding it.
Yes. These threat actors are simply storing the intercepted data in massive data centers, waiting for the day a quantum machine becomes viable. If an organization possesses long-lived, sensitive data, think 50-year civil infrastructure plans, biometric databases, intellectual property, or national security information, that data is already vulnerable if it is intercepted today.
That is terrifying.
The clock started ticking the moment the data was stolen, not the moment the quantum computer is built.
Wow. So if you wait until a major tech company announces a viable, error-corrected quantum computer on the evening news, you are already years too late. The data is already gone and exposed.
The challenge for leaders in 2026 is not purchasing quantum hardware. The immediate mandate is auditing their existing networks to locate exactly where vulnerable legacy cryptography exists.
Which is everywhere.
It is everywhere. Transitioning an entire enterprise's cryptographic foundation is a massive multi-year undertaking. You have to locate every piece of custom software, every physical router, and every third-party application that uses old encryption standards and upgrade them to the new NIST protocols. You must start planning and executing that transition roadmap immediately to protect data that has long-term value.
When we pull all of these complex threads together, the Gartner roadmap, the skyrocketing utility bills of AI compute, the absolute necessity of vector databases, the shift toward employees as workflow directors, and this looming shadow of quantum decryption, what does a successful path forward actually look like?
It's a lot to synthesize.
It is, but it seems abundantly clear that success starts with defining concrete business outcomes, not just downloading the newest shiny object from the tech display case.
That is the ultimate takeaway. A successful 2026 roadmap requires deep cross-functional planning. The IT department can no longer act alone. You need finance to manage the FinOps, security to enforce zero trust, and human resources to manage the massive workforce retraining, all sitting at the exact same table.
They all have to be aligned.
It requires organizations to enforce strict adoption gates. That means measuring the financial and productivity value of every AI pilot on a quarterly basis. If it isn't delivering measurable returns, you shut it down immediately. No more adoption theater.
And we should note that for certain listeners, this roadmap is exponentially more difficult. If you are a government contractor, for example, you aren't just calculating business value and standard cybersecurity risks.
Oh, not at all.
You have to navigate incredibly strict federal rules around data sovereignty, verifying secure software supply chains, and passing complex authorization processes. A technically brilliant, highly productive AI tool is entirely useless to you if it violates a federal data compliance regulation.
The underlying current to all of this is discipline, moving from enthusiasm to rigorous execution.
I want to leave you, the listener, with a final lingering thought to ponder on your own as you navigate this landscape. We just spent significant time unpacking how organizations are investing massive amounts of capital training human employees to monitor, judge, and collaborate with AI. We desperately want humans to use their unique empathy and critical thinking to supervise the machines. But as the digital workplace evolves into a fully integrated experience platform that seamlessly tracks every single click, every keystroke, every idle moment, and every interaction, what happens when the AI agents start analyzing and judging human productivity?
Ooh, that's a heavy question.
When the algorithm begins evaluating the critical thinking of its own supervisor, who is really supervising whom?
It is a profound structural shift in the balance of workplace power, and it's the philosophical tightrope we are all walking in 2026.
It truly is. So, the next time you are metaphorically grocery shopping for your organization's technology stack, make a list before you walk in the doors. Stick to your budget. Make absolutely sure you have the foundational data kitchen tools required to actually cook what you're buying. And whatever you do, resist the urge to buy those digital frosted cookies just because they look shiny in the display case. Today's show was human-inspired and powered with AI assistance. Be sure to visit us, www.botsandbosses.com. Remember, the bots are getting smarter, but you're still the boss.
Well, that's a wrap of this episode of the Bots and Bosses podcast. Enjoyed the show? Don't just listen. Follow the Bots and Bosses podcast and connect with John Binks online. Remember, the bots are getting smarter, but you're still the boss. For now, see you next time.